Chapter 711. Dramatic Change. Wu Dao multiplied into 9 different doppelgangers and fled with haste. His speed blinded the others. The demon gods chasing him, including the gold-armored demon god, were not able to recognize his original body, so they needed to kill the doppelgangers first. Almost instantly, the demon gods killed 6 of his clones. However, 3 of them escaped. The gold-armored demon god noticed one clone and quickly pursued. As for Dao Mai, he wasn't able to defend, so the 2 silver-armored demon gods and several copper-armored demon gods killed him. So far, 3 people who desired to kill Jian Wushuang, Dao Mai, and Long Dao were already dead. Wu Dao escaped, but was seriously injured. He was still pursued, not sure if he could escape safely from the encroaching demonic adversaries. Jian Wushuang was very satisfied with the results. It was a good scheme. Wushuang brother, Ji Yuqiong said. Both of Jian Wushuang's original bodies looked at Ji Yuqiong. However, when he turned his head, the black-robed figure in the dark materialized. He was like a ghost. Both Jian Wushuang and demon gods hadn't noticed him before. Ji Yuqiong noticed the black-robed man first. "Watch out!" Ji Yuqiong yelled. "What?" Jian Wushuang shuddered in horror. The feeling of being on the edge of life and death was all too familiar for him. A flash of cold, blade light popped up behind him and stabbed his slaughter body. The slaughter body didn't have time to react, and before the cold, blade light pierced his chest. His body wasn't able to defend. Soon his heart shattered and the slaughter body died. After killing Jian Wushuang's slaughter body, the blade light slashed towards his world body. Obviously, the black-robed figure planned to kill both of Jian Wushuang's original bodies. The cold blade light still gleamed after killing the slaughter body and moved surprisingly fast. Jian Wushuang's hairs all stood up. Since he had been born, and until now, he encountered numerous dangers, but it was very rare for him to be this close to death. Facing this life and death crisis, Jian Wushuang calmed. He stared at the cold blade light. "Fast. I need to be faster." He tried his best to pivot his body. Now, if he wanted to survive, he needed to be faster than the blade light. Kai! The blade light flew through Jian Wushuang's world body and caused a scarlet. His arm severed in 2. Despite losing one arm, Jian Wushuang survived the deadly attack. Eternal Realm. He withdrew and steadily stared at the black-robed figure. From the aura, which the black-robed man emitted, Jian Wushuang realized he was a real Eternal Realm expert. And he was also a human expert. An Eternal Realm expert should have wandered in the inner layer of the Eternal Zone, but not the outer layer. This person was not only in the outer layer, but also attacked him without considering his position. Moreover, it was a stealthy one at that. This sudden slash killed his slaughter body and cut one of his world body's arms. If Jian Wushuang was not calm enough, both of his original bodies would have perished. Then he really would be dead. Escaped successfully. The black-robed man raised his head and showed an old, yet evil face. He stared at Jian Wushuang. Obviously, he didn't think Jian Wushuang could survive such an attack. Even though you can escape one attack, I don't think you will be safe after a second. The evil black-robed elder radiated confidence. He soon turned into an illusion and slashed towards Jian Wushuang. His speed was far quicker than the Divine Realm experts. Damn it! What an outside bastard! Stop! A roar sounded abruptly. Ji Yuqiong popped up in front of the black-robed elder. His muscles bulged and blue veins burst. He waved his giant axe and slashed towards the black-robed elder. Ji Yuqiong brother. Jian Wushuang was shocked. "You want to die?" The black-robed elder flashed a trace of disdain and drew his saber. Boom! Ji Yuqiong's giant axe flew out and the power of the blade light hit his body. Even though Ji Yuqiong was a demon god with a resilient body, his opponent was a real Eternal Realm expert. Facing this expert, his body was thinner than a piece of paper. The blade light slashed through Ji Yuqiong and severed his body. He died almost instantly. No! Jian Wushuang's expression changed dramatically. Although he only knew Ji Yuqiong for a few days, Ji Yuqiong was honest and forthright. He felt comfortable and cordial, and meshed with him very well in those few days. Jiyu Qiong treated him like a brother. During the dangerous crisis, he knew his strength was not enough to defend the attack, but he still rushed forward and stopped it for Jian Wushuang. Although it was only one moment, it gave Jian Wushuang a chance to escape. "Run, Wushuang brother," Jiyu Qiong said, roaring in a low rumble before falling down. Jian Wushuang turned scarlet and his eyes filled with rage. He glanced at Jiyu Qiong and clenched his teeth. "Dragon blood secret skill." Jian Wushuang growled and his body also emitted a low voice. Soon his spiritual power burned quickly. Xianxia Palace Master gave him the Dragon Blood secret skill to protect himself. The secret skill burned his own spiritual power aggressively, but it increased his speed dramatically in a short time. The first level of the Dragon Blood secret skill burned the spiritual power a bit slower, but his speed multiplied by 10. The second level burned his spiritual power very quickly, but his speed increased hundreds of times in a short time. Now, Jian Wushuang exploited the second level of the Dragon Blood secret skill. His spiritual power burned immensely, as well as his speed. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang withdrew and his terrifying speed exploded. Chapter 712, Dragon Blood Secret Skill. This speed. The black-robed elder witnessed Jian Wushuang's speed in shock, but soon snorted. A black gas surged as he sped up and chased Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang ran and the black-robed elder chased, and soon they both disappeared on the battlefield. As for the demon gods, including 4 silver-armored demon gods, they just realized and saw the black-robed elder chasing Jian Wushuang. They also wanted to help, but Jian Wushuang and the elder were far too fast. Even though they could catch up, they were only the copper-armored and the silver-armored demon gods, so they wouldn't be able to ward against the black-robed elder's attack. The only one who could help was the gold-armored demon god, but he chased Wu Dao, making it impossible. Therefore, Jian Wushuang could only rely on himself. In the dense jungle, Jian Wushuang ran in a frenzy. His eyes were full of rage, but more of it was self-blame and guilt. "It's my fault. I caused Jiyu Qiong's death." Jian Wushuang clasped his hands. In order to give him a chance to escape, the black-robed elder killed Jiyu Qiong. It could be said that Jiyu Qiong saved Jian Wushuang by sacrificing himself. He owed Jiyu Qiong his life. The old man. Jian Wushuang turned to look at the black-robed elder who still pursued him. He didn't know the elder, but before entering the Eternal Zone, he saw him in the Boundless Demon Sect camp. So, that meant he was from the Boundless Demon Sect. The black-robed elder and the other experts from different sects entered the inner layer of the Eternal Zone through the wormhole. However, this black-robed elder infiltrated through to the outer layer to kill him. I already knew 3 magnates would attack me, but I thought they would only be the disciples in the superior divine realm expert level. To my surprise, the Boundless Demon Sect assigned an Eternal Realm expert sneaked out from the inner layer to kill me. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He tried to conceal his strength to make the 3 magnet experts ignore him, so he gained an opportunity to defend. Like the Cloud Seer's Guard and the Immortal Dynasty, they both assigned their disciples to kill him. So he worked with the Demon God clan to defeat them. However, he never believed an Eternal Realm expert would return. He missed this point, so he caused Jiyu Qiong's death and he was also in a dilemma. Boundless Demon Sect. Great. Jian Wushuang laughed with bloodlust in his voice. But, even his hatred and rage, he had to endure. The urgent task now was to save his life. Jian Wushuang's spiritual power burned bright. It was 10 times faster than when he fought. Although his speed increased dramatically, he couldn't maintain it for long. I cultivated the heavenly creation skill, so my spiritual power is more than the other same levels warriors. However, since the burning speed is so fast, I cannot withstand it for long. But the old man. Jian Wushuang saw the black-robed elder behind him. The black-robed elder radiated black gas. Obviously he also exploited the secret skill to increase his speed. Moreover, he completely exploited the skill to speed up. He was as fast as Jian Wushuang. He followed Jian Wushuang closely, so Jian Wushuang couldn't lose him. This is really bad. Jian Wushuang squinted. In the Eternal Zone, he couldn't use any message tokens. Also, his slaughter body was dead. Now, he tried his best to exploit the dragon blood secret skill, but still couldn't escape. What can I do? What else can I do? Deep down, Jian Wushuang remained calm, but he was desperately looking for an opening to escape. Suddenly, at the very end of his line of sight, he saw a territory covered in a pale, golden light. The inner layer of the Eternal Zone. Inner layer. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Ling Yu, the vice palace master, told him that the inner layer was the demon god's home, so it was very dangerous. The Eternal Realm experts needed to be very careful and the Divine Realm couldn't survive there. But that was only for the other warriors. Jian Wushuang was different. After all, his aura was similar to the demon gods, so they treated him as their clansman. For other people, the inner layer proved very dangerous, but for him, it might be a blessing. Go to the inner layer. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang endured the pain of the spiritual power burning and rushed to the inner layer of the Eternal Zone. Behind him, the black-robed elder still pursued. This kid has such a good escape skill. I've completely exploited my secret skill, but I only can follow him, still can't catch him. The black-robed elder stared at Jian Wushuang with his cold eyes. But this secret skill costs his spiritual power. He is only a skyscraping realm, so he doesn't have endless spiritual power. Soon, when his spiritual power fades, then I would like to see what he can do. The black-robed elder acted casual, but he handled it painstakingly. After all, here was the Eternal Zone. Not to mention the demon gods, there were lots of disciples from different sects. If they saw him chasing Jian Wushuang and told the ancient sect, Xianxia would be furious and he would be in mortal danger. But he was in a black robe and also covered his face. Even though people saw him, they couldn't recognize him at a distance. At this moment, the black-robed elder saw a territory covered in a pale, golden light in front of him. This kid, he wants to get into the inner layer. He really has guts. The black-robed elder's face clouded over. In the inner layer, it was the home for the demon god clan, so he didn't dare enter without a decent plan. Besides, there were numerous Eternal Realm experts, including the 8 Eternal Realm experts from the ancient sect. They were all at the edge of the inner layer. Based on his strength, he could do whatever he wanted in the outer layer. But the inner layer? No, that was more complicated. Chapter 713, Jet Black Arrow. I have to kill him even into the inner layer no matter what. The black-robed elder radiated a huge killing intent. If Jian Wushuang kept hesitating, the elder would not stop until he managed to kill him. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures, one after another, appeared on the edge of the pale gold lightning and directly rushed into the inner layer. There, the endless jungle had disappeared and had been replaced by an immense wilderness, where the black-robed elder was chasing Jian Wushuang, who was absconding like crazy, with no effort. Short after intruding the inner layer, Jian Wushuang found his spiritual power had run out. Even though he had taken many elixirs to regain some on the run, he burned much more than what he recovered. Even with his spiritual power was exhausted, the dragon blood secret skill continued to burn. However, now instead of consuming his spiritual power, what burnt was Jian Wushuang's own blood. With the blood in Jian Wushuang's body burning wildly, his heart felt a sudden pain. Damn it! Jian Wushuang's body seemed like it was about to melt under the torment of the pain, and he couldn't stop cursing wildly. Despite all of this, he was still escaping like a madman. He would never give up when his life was in danger, even in such an impasse. Ha ha, young man, are you okay? The black-robed elder behind Jian Wushuang sneered, finally aware of Jian Wushuang's odd complexion. Don't struggle anymore. Get ready for your death. It won't be so painful if you die. The black-robed elder said in a cold voice. But at this time, something strange happened. Swoosh! A streak of black light plunged into the air at an amazing speed, quickly reaching the black-robed elder. What's this? When the light appeared in front of him, the black-robed elder finally saw it clearly, and a strange look appeared on his face. That was a pure black arrow with an evil aura. Who shot the arrow? The black-robed elder was terrified. He could feel the horror emanating from the arrow, although he failed to find who was the archer. The jet black arrow directly hit the chest of the black-robed elder old man at an amazingly fast speed. The elder had no time to dodge and could only wave his black dagger in a great rush. The dagger chopped at the arrowhead, trying to force it back or change its direction. However, the power of the sudden arrow skyrocketed when it collided with the dagger, and then it shocked the dagger away and continued straight at the black-robed elder. This is not good. The black-robed elder was startled and desperately moved. At the same time, a lot of spiritual powers gathered and formed many layers of shields in front of him. Bang! 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 The jet black arrow broke all of them effortlessly and eventually hit its target. However, the black-robed elder shook his body at the last moment and his left shoulder was pierced by the arrow instead of his heart. What a horrible shot! Who did it? Looking at the arrow inserted on his left shoulder, the black-robed elder feared and cast his eyes on the direction from where the jet black arrow came in a great hurry. Immediately, he saw a middle-aged hairy man on a slightly raised hill, who was wrapped in simple animal skin and held a longbow with a basket of arrows on his back, staring at him with sharp eagle-like eyes. "You outsider do have a quick reaction," the middle-aged man said, but the next moment his body shook suddenly, making the black-robed elder panic again. He transformed from a normal human to a 5 meters body in a flash. His hands and feet became extremely brawny with pieces of muscles upheaved. His whole body skin turned into silver. Silver-armored demon god. Silver-armored demon god of the eternal realm. At that sight, the black-robed elder was greatly frightened. Even the weakest copper-armored demon god was much stronger than any ordinary warrior, especially on raw attacking power and strength. He would be unsure about fighting against a copper-armored demon god. But now, in front of him was a silver-armored demon god of the eternal realm, which made him lose all hope. The once middle-aged looking man once again drew the big bow. When the demon god was drawing the big bow, a horrible power began to converge. The power locked the black-robed elder in a flash, which made him turn pale and frightened. Run! He had no time to chase after Jian Wushuang, but immediately turned back and fled like crazy. The moment he tried to run, the middle-aged man's right hand quickly released the bow. A streak of sparkling black light ejected with a bounce and chased up the elder at a staggering speed, just like a huge comet dragging a long tail. The black-robed elder tried his best to escape. However, the black light finally caught up with him and shot directly towards his chest. The black-robed elder had nothing to do but turn around to withstand it with all his strength, even in virtue of one of his most precious treasures, a copper clock. Although the copper clock protected the black-robed elder's life by covering his body, it was shattered by the arrow in an instant, barely giving his owner a little bit of time to escape his unavoidable fate. The black-robed elder used this opportunity to escape from the sight of the middle-aged man. It was better to be alive without a treasure than dead. These outsiders do have a lot of tricks to save their lives. It's really hard to kill them. The silver-armored demon god shook his head and sighed. Then, his body shocked again and diminished into the original hairy middle-aged man. After that, he came straight to Jian Wushuang. At that moment, Jian Wushuang had burnt out of all spiritual powers and half of his blood. It was so miserable. He fell down to the ground with only a hint of consciousness, but unable to move. When the middle-aged man walked towards him, Jian Wushuang cast his eyes to the man. Chapter 7:14. The 10-day deadline was up. Good boy, are you okay? The middle-aged man looked at Jian Wushuang with goodwill. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth but found himself without words. Well, you're badly hurt. Don't say anything. Be careful not to die. After saying that, the middle-aged man squatted down and then took a dagger from his waist, gashing Jian Wushuang's arm. Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly as he had no idea what was going on. But then, his apparent savior stretched out his right arm. Who's he? The middle-aged man whispered. In a twinkling, a wound appeared on his arm and a hideous worm with countless tentacles climbed out of it. The scarlet worm and climbed into the wound on Jian Wushuang's arm. Watching this, Jian Wushuang felt a chill on his back, but he had no strength to resist whatsoever. However, when the creature entered into his body, Jian Wushuang immediately felt limp and numb. At the same time, He also realized that the worm contained an amazing amount of vital force that gave his whole body a bunch of fresh power. In just a moment, Jian Wushuang's injury got significantly better. Afterward, the scarlet worm climbed out of his wound and returned to the middle-aged man's hand once again. "You're seriously wounded. Huzi only can prevent you from getting worse. If you want to fully recover, you'd better take it easy and go slowly after your return to the clan," the middle-aged man said. "Thanks," Jian Wushuang said with great efforts, but still unable to move. "My name is Jiyu Yang, from the 8th tribe," the middle-aged man said. "I am Jian Wushuang." Jian Wushuang responded. The demon god's expression changed, but Jiyu Yang only said with no more questions, although he felt Jian Wushuang's name was strange, "It's not far from my tribe. Let me take you back there. You can go back to your tribe once you get better." "Okay. Back to my tribe." Jian Wushuang's complexion whitened. He came from the outside world. The Eternal Zone was only open for 10 days. After that, it would close again. Before he entered into the Eternal Zone, Ling Yu, the Vice Palace Master, had said that they must hasten to the edge of the outer layer once the 10-day deadline was up if they wanted to leave. But now, there were only 2 days left. Jian Wushuang could not guarantee he could reach the edge of the outer layer before the deadline if he followed Jiyu Yang to the tribe where the demon god clan lived in. "But, I can't move at all on my current state. It's impossible to get to the edge of the outer layer." Jian Wushuang felt pained. "Let's go. I can carry you on my back," Jiyu Yang said, hoisting Jian Wushuang on his back and walking towards the 8th tribe. Meanwhile, in the Eternal Zone, many outsiders from the Firmament territory were still fighting madly in order to get more demon god's essence blood. But time was limited. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Outside the Eternal Zone, above the vast ancient forest floated 2 huge wormholes. The top 3 magnates from the Firmament territory and experts from top 9 sects strode out from one of them and gathered in crowds. Most of the experts from the Eternal Realm who had ventured in the inner layer were out of spirit energy after 10 days of combat. The number of experts was obviously reduced. Many of them had lost their lives in the inner layer. The ancient sect had dispatched 8 experts in the Eternal Realm. After the combat, the 8 experts survived, but 2 palace masters were seriously wounded. "Destruction. I was told that you got a demon god baptismal pool. How is it?" Mo Dao looked at the palace master. "Destruction. I failed." The palace master shook his head ashamed. "What a pity." Mo Dao secretly praised. Those demon gods attach great importance to the demon god baptismal pool. Although there are many of them in the inner layer, each pool was guarded by a demon god. It's extremely tough to get one of those pools under their guard. Even if we are lucky enough to get it, whether we can turn into a demon god with it only depends on luck. You did get the demon god baptismal pool, but you were not lucky enough to become a demon god. What a pity. We just got some drops of demon god's essence blood, far away from getting a demon god baptismal pool. Ling Yu and other people could not help sighing. Among the experts of the Eternal Realm who had ventured in the inner layer, only Zhong Ming from the Immortal Dynasty and Violet Fairy from the 9 Heaven sect are favored to get a demon god baptismal pool and successfully turn into a demon god. Mo Dao said. Immediately, several experts of the ancient sect all cast their eyes on the pair. As for those experts from other sects, they all looked at the 2 lucky dogs with envy. The demon god baptismal pool was the place where the demon god clansmen received baptism. They had to get into the baptismal pool to turn into a demon god when they grew up enough. But these human warriors also had the same chance to turn into a demon god given that they had a part of demon god bloodline by absorbing demon god's essence blood. Every time when the Eternal Zone opened, the experts from different sects in the Firmament territory came into the inner layer to adventure. All of them were after a demon god baptismal pool to get at least a chance to turn into a demon god, just like the demon god clansmen. Even if the chance was slim, their strength would get a huge boost even if they happened to turn in just the weakest copper-armored demon god. Violet Fairy and Zhong Ming were successful in turning into copper-armored demon gods, which made experts from different sects admire them. They are so lucky. Mo Dao highly praised. You're right. The Palace Master Destruction nodded. Zhong Ming and Violet Fairy. Violet Fairy is weaker, just an ordinary expert of the Eternal Realm. I can beat her down in terms of strength. But now it will skyrocket several times as long as she turns into a copper-armored demon god. Ling Yu, the Vice Palace Master, shook his head and smiled. Chapter 7:15, Life and Death. Among us, only you are qualified to contend against Violet Fairy. But I'm afraid you can't defeat her. As for Zhong Ming, he is quite powerful by nature. Now that he has become a copper-armored demon god, even a warrior as powerful as you can't overcome him. Ling Yu, the Vice Palace Master, said, full of frustration. After hearing this, the Palace Master Destruction knew what he had said was true, even if he was unwilling to admit it. Although Zhong Ming and Violet Fairy are fortunate, they are far behind from Yun Fan. Mo Dao said in a low voice. Yun Fan. The experts of the Eternal Realm from the ancient sect all thought of the current Great Elder of Cloud Sea Asgard, Yun Fan, and a flow of indignation emerged from their heart. Yun Fan was the sitting Great Elder of the Cloud Sea Asgard, who was considered as the strongest among the Eternal Realm in the Cloud Sea Asgard experts. What bothered them was that many years ago Yun Fan had been just as strong as them, and the Palace Master Destruction had been even much more powerful than Yun Fan at that time. Just because of the Eternal Zone expedition that happened then, however, Yun Fan had been so lucky to get a demon god baptismal pool and successfully turn into a silver-armored demon god with its help. That was much more formidable than a simple copper-armored demon god. Since then, Yun Fan made an earth-shaking progress and became the strongest expert of the Eternal Realm in the Cloud Sea Asgard, only ranked behind Xianxia, Palace Master of the ancient sect, among the experts of the Eternal Realm in the whole firmament territory. Other experts of the Eternal Realm, even those who turned into copper-armored demon gods, were still miles away from Yun Fan. He had been so lucky that time. There were so many experts in the firmament territory, but till now Yun Fan was the only one who had managed to turn into a silver-armored demon god by virtue of a demon god baptismal pool. Luck is also part of someone's strength. We have no choice but to wait for the next opportunity. Fortunately, the Eternal Zone will open every 100 years, which is not too much for us. The Palace Master Destruction said helplessly. That's right. Other experts of the Eternal Realm nodded in agreement. Suddenly, a burst of light emerged from the other wormhole. These little guys are coming out of the Eternal Zone. What have they gotten? Let's see. Most of the present experts of the Eternal Realm were full of expectation. As rays of light raised, many disciples of the Divine Realm strode from the wormhole. Although they were tired out after the 10-day fight, they had made some gains just for surviving in the Eternal Zone. Those disciples strode out of the wormhole one by one. Among the 6 disciples of the ancient sect, Liu Chong, Feng, Dorna, and Luo Yong walked out from the Eternal Zone. Boy, what have you got? The Palace Master Destruction asked one of his best disciples with a smile. I got 3 drops of Demon God's Essence Blood, Feng answered. 3 drops. Very good. The Palace Master Destruction nodded with satisfaction. Those demon gods are quite strong. Even the weakest copper-armored demon god is a tough opponent among the advanced demon gods. Although they are clumsy and not good at fast movements, their bodies are quite strong to be killed. You still managed to get 3 drops of Demon God's Essence Blood only in 10 days. Very good. It's true. It's not easy to kill those demon gods. I really spared great efforts to find one for them alone, but failed to kill him in more than half an hour. A disciple from the Cloud Sea Asgard rushed to finish him off and got the Demon God's Essence Blood. Luo Yong said bitterly, who only got 1 drop of Demon God's Essence Blood. Dorna, as powerful as Luo Yong, was lucky and got 2 drops. When it came to Liu Chong, he was a superior Divine Realm expert with great strength. So he got more Demon God's Essence Blood, 6 drops in total. Jian Wushuang and Sichu Yi haven't come out yet. I wonder what they have gained in the Eternal Zone. The Palace Master Destruction showed a slight smile. But this time, as light raised again, an awkward figure strode out from the wormhole. Most of the experts and disciples showed a strange look when they looked at the figure. He was Wu Dao from the Cloud Sea Asgard. Wu Dao was the strongest among the 3 superior Divine Realm experts who entered the Eternal Zone, even one of the best among the Divine Realm experts in the Cloud Sea Asgard. Logically, it should be very easy for him to make a breakthrough in the outer layer of the Eternal Zone. But now, he was as pale as death and his aura was weak to the extreme. It was obvious that he was seriously wounded. The experts from the Cloud Sea Asgard all frowned and quickly walked towards Wu Dao. One leading elder among them asked in a low voice, "Wu Dao, what happened?" "Distinguished elders, I and junior brother Dao Mai were tricked by Jian Wushuang," Wu Dao said with a grudge, and then he narrated what he had gone through in the Eternal Zone. "What? Did you just say that Jian Wushuang plotted against you too along with the Demon God clan?" The elders from the Cloud Sea Asgard were shocked. "Right." Wu Dao nodded solemnly. "Are you sure that Jian Wushuang joined hands with those demon gods, and they did not just happen to attack Jian Wushuang too?" The leading elder asked again. "That? I'm not sure. Those demon gods did attack me and junior brother Dao Mai rather than Jian Wushuang." Wu Dao replied. "How about Jian Wushuang? Do you see him?" The elder made a detailed inquiry. "No." Wu Dao nodded. "Really?" The elder thought for a while and then he claimed, "Well, let it go. No matter whether Jian Wushuang is alive or dead, you must say you never met Jian Wushuang in the Eternal Zone if someone asks you." "Yes." Wu Dao nodded seriously. Many disciples of the Divine Realm came out from the wormhole one after another. After about an hour, all the experts who had survived in the Eternal Zone were almost out. Only less than 60 disciples finally came out from the Eternal Zone among the original 80 disciples from the 3 magnates and top 9 sects. There were 2 noticeable sects. One was the Cloud Sea Asgard, which dispatched 3 superior Divine Realm experts to the Eternal Zone, but Wu Dao was the only one who survived but suffered serious injuries. Another attractive sect was the Ancient Sect. Jian Wushuang, a peerless genius that scared all sects, who was tutored by Xianxia, Palace Master of the Ancient Sect, had not shown up his face from the Eternal Zone yet. But the wormhole was going to close. Chapter 716. Xianxi's Anger. Finally, the 2 wormholes that connected to the Eternal Zone finished closing and completely disappeared from sight. The whole area was filled with silence. Jian Wushuang didn't come out. The 8 eternal real experts from the Ancient Sect seemed confounded for a moment. If someone didn't leave the Eternal Zone in time, death was the only remaining possibility. Even if he was not dead yet, the Eternal Zone would not be open for another 100 years. How could a person survive there for 100 years? Even experts of Eternal Realm like them would not be able to survive there for that long. Shit. The 8 Ancient Sect experts of Eternal Realm, including Feng, Liu Chong, and the other disciples, looked rather grim. Even though, among the 6 Ancient Sect disciples who entered the Eternal Zone, Sichu Yi also didn't make it out in time, Jian Wushuang was much more important than Sichu Yi. Jian Wushuang was an incredibly peerless genius and the personal disciple of Xian Yi. As long as he didn't die early, he was almost guaranteed to reach the Eternal Realm, and he even had a very good chance of becoming a Dao Master. But Jian Wushuang had not exited from the Eternal Zone. The surrounding experts from each sect remained silent at this time, but the looks they gave each other said everything. Good. Jian Wushuang died in the Eternal Zone. The Ancient Sect will definitely suffer a loss with his absence. The Ancient Sect. The Ancient Sect may have suffered a loss, but the issue is that Jian Wushuang is a personal disciple of Xian Yi. Now, with his youngest disciple dead, he might go crazy. I think there is something odd about his death though. Shush. We all understand, but we don't dare to say it out loud. Let's see what happens. Xian Yi is not someone we can offend. Although he seems to be a good-tempered man who treats others kindly, he's unstoppable when he becomes angry. The trip to the Eternal Zone had come to an end. However, the experts of the top sects were in no hurry to leave because they were curious to see what would happen next. They all knew that Xian Yi would never let the death of Jian Wushuang with just that. At this moment, many different ideas were racing through the minds of the 3 magnates. In the area where the Boundless Demon sect was. "And Chao, did you kill Jian Wushuang?" The Eternal Realm experts from the Boundless Demon sect had gathered together and were looking at a pale-faced black-robed elder. This black-robed person was the one who had chased Jian Wushuang into the inner layer of the Eternal Zone. He was Xianxia, an elder of the Boundless Demon sect. The arrow from Jiu Yang had left a wound on him. I did injure him and even managed to kill his doppelganger, but I wasn't able to confirm his death. Xianxia frowned and said, the kid had a remarkable escape skill. At the cost of burning his spiritual power, he was able to instantly increase his speed by 100 times within a short period. Even while using my full power, I was only able to keep up with him. He eventually fled to the inner layer. I did follow after him, but I came across a silver-armored demon god in the Eternal Realm before I managed to kill him. The silver-armored demon god terrifyingly powerful, so I was forced to use my trump card just to survive. So, what you're saying is that you didn't witness Jian Wushuang's death, right? Another elder of the Boundless Demon sect asked. Yes. Xianxia nodded and continued, however, he's definitely dead. He burned up all of his spiritual power and even started burning his blood. Definitely dead. The elders of Boundless Demon sect laughed. An elder said, the Eternal Zone is already very dangerous, and he even entered the inner layer, which is a death trap. He has to be dead. Yes. Those demon gods utterly hate us outsiders. There's no doubt that they would kill him on sight, the elder beside him echoed. Hopefully, Xianxia nodded slightly, but there was an awful premonition hidden deep in his heart. After all, he had seen Jian Wushuang working together with those demon gods to kill Wu Dao and the others. But, other than Jian Wushuang, these demon gods hated all outsiders. In the area where the ancient sect was, the 8 Eternal Realm experts had gathered together. Palace Master Destruction began to inform the sect that Jian Wushuang had not made it out of the Eternal Zone and he had just finished telling Xianxia. After Xianxia heard the news, he was silent for a moment before quickly replying, I see. My doppelganger will arrive soon. Before it gets there, make sure you don't let any of the 3 magnates leave. I understand. Palace Master Destruction nodded. After he finished delivering the news, Palace Master Destruction sighed in relief, but he could sense Xianxia's anger in those last few words he said. It seems like someone is going to suffer a lot. Palace Master Destruction sighed while looking toward the experts of the 3 magnates with pity in his eyes, but he immediately spoke, everyone from Cloud Seer's Guard, the Immortal Dynasty, and the Boundless Demon sect. After hearing his words, the experts of the 3 magnates had unnaturally fearful expressions on their faces. Anyone who even knew a little about his past would be fearful of Palace Master Xianxia. Xianxia, he is the strongest Eternal Realm expert in the Firmament territory. The elder from Cloud Seer's Guard, Lady Red, clasped both of her hands as various stories about Xianxia began to run through her mind. Literally, he is a monster. It's very rare for him to personally make a move, but once he does, that person will not meet a good end no matter who they are. No one knows how powerful he is because he has never used his full power. He's always been an unfathomable and unpredictable individual. Many years ago, our Palace Master came to blows with Xianxia. But, after that, our Palace Master ordered us not to offend Xianxia. As far as I know, our Palace Master merely fought with Xianxia's doppelganger that time. In addition, it is well known that Yuan Yi is not the type to get angry easily. However, if provoked, he can create a massacre. More importantly, he usually defends his disciples. Now, with his youngest disciple dead, even if he has no evidence that it was Cloud Seer's Guard that killed Jian Wushuang, he would not just let it go. Upon hearing his words, many experts of Cloud Seer's Guard had an even grimmer expression on their faces. In the Immortal Dynasty and the Boundless Demon sect, the Eternal Realm experts also looked solemn. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the air above them. When she saw the figure suddenly appear, Lady Red Elder took a deep breath and she looked around. Then, a low and deep voice spread about. Everyone, prepare yourselves and make sure to stay behind me while we face Xianxia's wrath. Chapter 717. Xianxia's Anger. In the air above them, a gigantic purple-haired man slowly emerged and dead silence immediately reigned over the whole area. The strongest Eternal Realm expert in the Firmament territory, ancient sect palace master Xianxia from Sword Palace, had arrived. When the experts of the 3 magnates and the other 8 top sects saw Xianxia, they realized that his face didn't have the usual mild expression. Instead, he looked slightly ferocious. They all began to feel frightened at this moment. The name of people, and the shadow of trees. Xianxia was famous in the Firmament Territory, and he was a nightmare for most of the Eternal Realm experts in the Firmament Territory. Even though it was only his doppelganger, it still possessed unprecedented power. Jian Wushuang, he was my disciple. Xianxia said, in a voice that did not display any emotions. Although he was only in the skyscraping realm, his strength was extraordinary. It would not be a problem at all for him to pass through the Eternal Zone. But he died in the end. Cloud Sea Asgard, Immortal Dynasty and Boundless Demon Sect. You, the 3 magnates, should give me an explanation, shouldn't you? Explanation? What explanation? Lady Red, the elder who was leading the Cloud Sea Asgard group, snorted and continued, the Eternal Zone is full of dangers. Even Eternal Realm experts can face death there, let alone those disciples in the skyscraping realm and the divine realm. Even one of the elders from our Cloud Sea Asgard fell last time. We, Cloud Sea Asgard, had more disciples die this time. Among the 3 who were in the superior divine realm, there was only one who came back alive. We also lost so much, so who should we go to for an explanation? Life and death, poor or rich, it's all destined. Your disciple has died in the Eternal Zone. The person you should blame is the one who was not strong enough. Who else is there to blame? The red-robed elder spoke in an unhurried manner, and the experts of Cloud Sea Asgard, as well as the other 2 magnates, nodded along with him. Oh. Xianxia raised his eyebrows, but his voice grew cold. If my disciple really was killed by those demon gods, then I have nothing to say. However. Before he finished, Xianxia's figure suddenly faded away, but when his figure appeared again, he had already grabbed someone's hand. And that person was Wu Dao. Xianxia, what are you going to do? All of the experts of Cloud Sea Asgard were extremely surprised. Xianxia entirely ignored them, and a purple light flashed in his eyes. Then, he looked towards Wu Dao. Wu Dao looked back at Xianxia, but his eyes immediately grew empty. Tell me, did you see my disciple in the Eternal Zone? Xianxia asked. Yes, Wu Dao nodded dully. This scene greatly shocked everyone in the surroundings. What? The Eternal Realm experts in Cloud Sea Asgard looked surprised, and the expressions on their faces suddenly changed. They were all aware of what had happened. Wu Dao was completely under Xianxia's control. He had taken over his mind directly, so Wu Dao was not even conscious of what was happening. All he could do was answer Xianxia's questions slowly and honestly. How was he doing it? What an incredibly odd technique. Have the elders of Cloud Sea Asgard ordered you to kill my disciple? Xianxia continued to ask. Yes, Wu Dao continued to answer in a dull manner. Shit. Damn it. What? The Eternal Realm experts in Cloud Sea Asgard all began to panic. They knew beforehand that Xianxia would be furious when they killed Jian Wushuang. However, no matter how mad he was, Xianxia wouldn't completely lose it as long as he wasn't able to find evidence proving that they did it. But they never expected Xianxia to have a method that directly controlled someone's mind. They had underestimated Xianxia. What happened? Xianxia continued to ask. I found him, along with my junior brother, Dao Mai. We should have been able to kill him, but a group of demon gods appeared out of nowhere, so we could only escape. Dao Mai was killed by those demon gods, and I narrowly escaped because of secret skill, Wu Daomu said dully. I see, Xian nodded and immediately let go of Wu Dao. Wu Dao quickly came back to his senses, then looked around blankly and said, What happened? What happened to me? He had absolutely no idea what had happened. At this moment, Xianxia looked toward the experts of Cloud Sea Asgard with his ice-cold eyes. Cloud Sea Asgard, do you have anything you want to say now? Xianxia's voice grew cold. Lady Red was somewhat terrified and shouted promptly, Mr. Xianxia, Wu Dao did harm your disciple, but he wasn't the one that killed him. Your disciple's death had nothing to do with our Cloud Sea Asgard. You're right. I had intended to kill all 14 of your Eternal Realm experts, but I've decided to give you a discount, so I'll only kill half of them." After saying that, he immediately made his move. In an instant, a strikingly cold sword light appeared, filling up the entire area. This sword light was extremely dazzling, but it also looked slow and stodgy, as if it possessed no power at all. It didn't seem like anything special, but this slow attack shocked all the Eternal Realm experts and their disciples. Everyone had fallen into a trance. They had become immersed in this brilliant sword light and seemed to have forgotten everything. The 14 Eternal Realm experts of Xianxia's guard also went numb at that moment. The sword light seemed to attack them, but none of the 14 experts tried to fight back. Like a fool, they all went numb, allowing the sword light that appeared before them to freely dance around them. Swish! The sound of a sword being sheathed was heard as the sword light finally dissipated. The experts and disciples in the surroundings slowly came back to their senses. Once they regained their senses, they looked forward and became completely stunned. Among the people of Xianxia's guard, the 14 Eternal Realm experts still stood there in a scattered manner, but 7 of them were missing their heads. 7 heads instantly flew up into the air at the same time. With one sword, 7 of 14 Eternal Realms experts had been instantly killed. Xianxia gently waved his sleeve as the sweeping sword essence faded away. His face still looked indifferent, as if what happened just now had nothing to do with him. The whole area remained completely silent. A deathly silence. And this silence hung over the area for a long time. Chapter 7:18. Xianxia's Anger. The whole area was completely silent, except for the sounds of the 7 ice-cold corpses slowly hitting the ground. The 7 people who survived, swallowed, and stood there with their eyes wide opened due to their extreme fear. Watching this, the experts of the other sects were filled with shock. They all knew that the ancient sect palace master, Xianxia, was terrifying and domineering, but nobody knew how powerful he really was. In the beginning, they believed that Xianxia might be strong enough to fight the 14 Eternal Realm experts from Xianxia's guard, but they thought it would be a tough fight. They didn't expect him to kill them with only one attack. With only one attack, he had killed 7 experts from Xianxia's guard. That incredible sword move frightened everyone. Apparently, Xianxia was still holding back his strength, or else all 14 of them would be dead. Such terrifying strength. Such overwhelming strength. After seeing his strength, some of them started to wonder if Xianxia had broken through and become a supreme Dao master. It seemed to them that only a legendary Dao master could perform such an incredible sword move. "Go back and tell your palace master, nobody kills my disciples, no matter how badly they want to. You should be grateful that my disciple was not actually killed by your Xianxia's guard. Otherwise, humph." Xianxia's voice reverberated throughout the area. Although Xianxia didn't finish, everyone understood what he meant. The 7 people survived, including Lady Red, were suppressing their fear deep down inside of them, not daring to say a thing. They promptly told it in secret to Yun Fan, the Great Elder, and the Palace Master behind them. Xianxia's guard has already given me an explanation. Now, it's the Immortal Dynasties and Boundless Demon sect's turn. Xianxia looked towards the experts of the Immortal Dynasty and Boundless Demon sect, those 2 big groups. Fear swept over these experts when they saw him staring at them. The uncaged and untamed middle-aged man who led Immortal Dynasty promptly said, "Mr. Xianxia, the Immortal Dynasty didn't hurt your disciple." "Neither did our Boundless Demon sect," said the people of the Boundless Demon sect. At this time, they absolutely would not dare to admit that they had intended to hurt Jian Wushuang. As for An Chao of the Boundless Demon sect, who had actually chased after Jian Wushuang, he was definitely the most frightened one. He was terrified that he would be got caught by Xianxia, the same way Wu Dao was, then controlled and forced to tell the truth. If that happened, he would definitely meet a very miserable end. "If you 2 magnates give me 10 million divine gems each, I will not get to the bottom of this. As for each of the other top sects, you should give me 1 million divine gems. Anyone have a problem with that?" Xianxia's voice grew cold. "Okay, no problem. No problem." The Immortal Dynasty, Boundless Demon sect and those top sects in the area were totally overawed by Xianxia's strength, so no one dared to go against him. They knew that Xianxia was taking advantage of the situation. However, they did have the ulterior motives. After all, they did make plans against Jian Wushuang. The Immortal Dynasty and Boundless Demon Sect even fought with him, so they definitely did not want to face a situation similar to the experts of Cloud Seer's Guard and have half of their experts killed. Within a short amount of time, these sects brought out enough divine gem to pacify Xianxia. Okay, let's forget it. If anyone has any complaints, feel free to tell them to come find me. After he said that, he gave a profound look toward the 7 remaining people in Cloud Seer's Guard and left with a wave of his sleeves. While watching Xianxia leave, the experts finally sighed in relief. Even the 8 Eternal Realm experts from the ancient sect felt a sense of relief. Palace Master Destruction said immediately, I finally know why Xianxia is not interested in the opportunities in the Eternal Zone. He is so powerful that he is not inferior to Dao Master. So, why would he care these small benefits? Exactly, Mo Dao nodded and continued. I knew Xianxia was powerful, but I didn't know he had reached such a high level. No wonder the other sects are so afraid of him. I'm sure Cloud Seer's Guard is full of regret now that they've lost 7 Eternal Realm experts. Cloud Seer's Guard did suffer a big loss. I suppose they will try to cause trouble for Xianxia in the future. Cause trouble for Xianxia? HMPH. I don't think any of them have the guts to do that except for their Palace Master himself. Xianxia is quite crafty though. He personally killed people in Cloud Seer's Guard, but he only extorted the other 2 magnates for 10 million divine gems each. So, he didn't offend them as badly as he did Cloud Seer's Guard. And, Cloud Seer's Guard won't be able to do anything to him on their own. The surrounding experts from each sect continued to talk about what just happened while constantly glancing towards the remaining 7 Eternal Realm experts from Cloud Seer's Guard. In the area where Cloud Seer's Guard had gathered, Lady Red's face had turned dark red because of all the bizarre looks she felt coming from her surroundings. At this moment, a message token in her possession reacted. Of course, the owner of this token was their Palace Master. Palace Master has sent a message. Lady Red immediately looked at the token as her eyes sparkled with excitement. But, the message their Palace Master sent was very simple, only 4 words. Don't upset Xianxia. Lady Red and the other people in Cloud Seer's Guard were shocked by this message. Xianxia killed 7 of our people. Why did the Palace Master warn us not to upset him instead? Why is he so afraid of Xianxia? Lady Red was a bit confounded. After a while, she sighed and said, let's go. The remaining people from Cloud Seer's Guard slowly left, along with their disciples. Naturally, the experts of the other sects left as well. The trip to the Eternal Zone had come to an end. However, the incident with Xianxia killing 7 Eternal Realm experts from Cloud Seer's Guard quickly spread throughout all of the Firmament territory and continued to be a topic of discussion for quite a long time. However, it wasn't just because of Xianxia's anger that Jian Wushuang's death had become a heated topic among the experts in the Firmament territory. Quite a few people were sorry for Jian Wushuang because he was such a peerless genius. However, as one of the main characters of this incident, Xianxia was sitting on the 2nd floor of the Sword Tower, leisurely brewing his tea. On a table close to the wall, there was a floating shadow which appeared to be a sword spark. It was the sword spark that had been taken from Jian Wushuang's sword heart with a special method when Xianxia took him as his personal disciple. This sword spark had not vanished, which meant that Jian Wushuang was still alive. Chapter 719. Pure Soul Aura. While the outside world was being turned upside down because of Jian Wushuang's death, there was also something happening at the inner layer of the Eternal Zone. There were a total of 10 tribes in the Demon God clan and there were over 10,000 people in each of the tribes. The tribes lived together in a friendly manner and almost never battled amongst themselves. There were numerous houses, built completely out of stone, on the endless mountains in 8th tribe. Even the gate was made of stone. Jiyu Yang, who carried a longbow, stepped into 8th tribe with Jian Wushuang on his back. Brother Jiyu Yang, are you back from hunting? Jiyu Yang, who is the man on your back? All the clansmen in the tribe were very curious. Father, who are you carrying? A young man with a burly figure walked up to Jiyu Yang. This clansman is seriously injured. Go get Elder Ying, said Jiyu Yang. Okay. The young man nodded and then immediately went to look for Elder Ying. Jiyu Yang took Jian Wushuang to a stone house and placed him on the stone bed that was inside. A short while later, the young man came in with a woman who had a weathered face and a dragon head crutch. Elder Ying, Jiyu Yang spoke humbly. Elder Ying replied. Then she walked to the bed and looked at Jian Wushuang with a slightly cloudy gaze. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's consciousness had already slipped into a coma. This kid. Elder Ying stared at Jian Wushuang, then her eyes slightly narrowed before suddenly opening wide as a bright light flashed through her eyes. Elder Ying, what's wrong? Jiyu Yang asked in confusion. The kid has very pure soul aura, she said. His soul aura is very pure. Jiyu Yang's face changed as he stared at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Soul aura is the essence of our clansman. The purer the soul aura is, the stronger his bloodline is. Besides, with such a pure soul aura, his bloodline is definitely comparable to the 10th generation or maybe even higher. Elder Ying was amazed, but there was also a look of pleasant surprise on her face. What? The 10th generation? Jiyu Yang could not help being surprised. Their population was the ancient god clan. As for the demon god clan, it was what the experts from the firmament territory called them. Their ancestor was the ancient god, someone with enough power to destroy a whole world. They all had the bloodline of the ancient god, but after their ancestor disappeared, his bloodline became thinner and thinner as it passed down from generation to generation. They had lived in the eternal zone for numerous years, but the bloodline had been passed down for hundreds of generations and the number of clansmen had reached 1 million. However, the bloodline of the ancient gods continued to grow thinner. As of now, in their ancient god clan, after baptism, 9 out of 10 clansmen could only become a copper-armored ancient god, and some, even after the baptism, could not awaken their bloodline to become an ancient god at all. Only a very small number of people could awaken the silver-armored ancient god's bloodline. Gold-armored ancient gods were even rarer. There were only about 20 gold-armored ancient gods among the 10,000 people in the tribe. This was because the bloodline of the ancient gods was getting thinner and thinner. Just as Elder Ying said, the ancient god bloodline that was possessed by the clansmen of the 10th generation was extremely thick. However, there were few people who were within 10 generations among the ancient god clan in the eternal zone. With such a pure soul aura and such a thick bloodline, there'll be no problem for this kid to become a silver-armored ancient god after baptism. He even has a good chance of becoming a gold-armored ancient god, said Elder Ying. Gold-armored ancient god. Jiyu Yang was moved. There were under 20 gold-armored ancient gods in the whole tribe and each one of them was very old and highly respected. The birth of every gold-armored ancient god was a source of great joy for the entire ancient god clan. Where did you meet this kid? Which tribe is he from? Asked Elder Ying. I don't know which tribe he is from. I only know that he is called Jian Wushuang. When I was hunting outside, I happened to meet him while he was being chased by an outsider. I saved him and brought him back with me, said Jiyu Yang. Jian Wushuang. Elder Ying frowned. Our ancient god clan mostly use the ancient surnames. Although some of us use other surnames, there are very few. Besides, I have never heard of anyone who once used Jian as their surname. However, no matter which tribe he comes from, since he has such pure soul aura, he must be a clansman of our ancient god clan. It's impossible for that to be wrong. Jiyu Yang, go outside and leave this kid to me, said Elder Ying. Aye. Jiyu Yang nodded and gave Jian Wushuang one more glance before leaving. Only Jian Wushuang and Elder Ying were left in the stone house now. Elder Ying sat down beside the stone bed and stretched out her arm. Upon closer inspection, a bulge could be seen moving slowly. A moment later, an extremely ferocious-looking bug with countless tentacles climbed out of her arm. Jew, heal the kid and give him a drop of the essence blood you've stored. Elder Ying opened her mouth. Hearing this, the ferocious bug on her arm stared up at Elder Ying with an obvious look of astonishment. Essence blood had great effects and it could only save 1 drop every 10,000 years, so it was very precious. Normally, it wouldn't give it to anyone, but Elder Ying had asked it to give 1 drop to Jian Wushuang. Although it was surprised, it obeyed Elder Ying. It quickly climbed onto Jian Wushuang's arm and spat out a drop of essence blood. The moment this drop of blood entered Jian Wushuang's body, his body couldn't help absorbing it. After it was absorbed, the wounds in his body began to recover at an alarming speed. Even Jian Wushuang's arm that had been cut by the black-robed elder, and Chao, began to repair itself at this moment. It was very clear that this drop of essence blood was so effective that it might even be able to save someone who was at death's door. What's more, Jian Wushuang's vitality soared once he finished completely absorbing this drop of essence blood. If the life of a skyscraping realm cultivator was 10,000 years, then the current Jian Wushuang could live for more than 50,000 years. After another moment, Jian Wushuang's broken arm had been completely restored, and the majority of the injuries to his body had also been cured, but the essence blood could not completely restore his exhausted spiritual power. On the stone bed, Jian Wushuang's consciousness began to come back and his eyes slowly opened. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw Elder Ying next to the bed. "Kid, are you awake?" Elder Ying was looking at him softly. Chapter 720, The Descendant of the Militant Warrior. Is this the Demon God Tribe? Jian Wushuang looked around as he thought back to how he met Jiu Yang, who then carried him back to the tribe. "We're the 8th tribe. I'm an elder of 8th tribe and you can call me Elder Ying." Elder Ying looked at him. "You were badly hurt, so I asked you to give you a drop of essence blood. With that, you should be mostly healed now." Just then, the extremely ferocious bug, with many tentacles, on her arm raised its head and looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked back at it. Although he didn't know how precious its essence blood was, he was well aware of how severe his injury was. Under normal circumstances, even if he had used a general elixir or treasure, it would have been impossible for him to recover without half a month. But that drop of essence blood from the bug had almost completely healed him in a very short time. "Thank you," said Jian Wushuang. "We're of the same clan, so you don't need to be so polite." Elder Ying smiled and continued, "By the way, I heard from Jiu Yang that your name is Jian Wushuang. Which tribe are you from?" "Tribe?" Jian Wushuang slightly narrowed his eyes, then shook his head and said, "I'm not from any of the tribes." He didn't intend to continue lying. Previously, in the outer layer, he could leave immediately if he needed to, so he wasn't afraid of what would happen if the demon gods investigated his identity. But now he was inside a house that belonged to the demon god clan. He was in one of the demon god clan's tribes. At this moment, if he continued lying to Elder Ying and said that he was from 7th tribe or one of the other tribes, then it would be unwise. "Not from a tribe." Elder Ying cocked her brows. "Then you must be related to one of those militant warriors who wander around, constantly putting their lives on the line." Militant warriors? Jian Wushuang was curious, but he remained unmoved on the surface. "Our ancient god clan is innately militant and possesses an enormous battle intent due to the instincts passed down from their ancestor, the ancient god," Elder Ying said. "But, ever since our ancestor disappeared, we've been living here and have very little contact with the outside worlds. So there aren't many battles. Even when there is a battle, it is only a contest between clansmen. Some of the clansmen can't stand it, so they leave the tribes and enter the boundless wasteland on the other end of the world to fight against the fiercely violent wild beasts. Some of them die in the intense battles with the wild beasts, while some of them survive and continue wandering the line between life and death. As time goes by, most of these clansmen should have died. There ought to be very few clansmen who are still fighting with wild beasts in the boundless wasteland. We call these people militant warriors, and you should be a descendant of them." "Oh." Jian Wushuang understood now. These militant warriors left their homeland and tribes, but they still possess our great ancestors' bloodline and are still clansmen of our ancient god clan, so you are as well. Elder Ying looked at Jian Wushuang while smiling and said, "Since you're already here, you can stay in our tribe for a while. Also, I don't think you have gone through the demon god baptism before, have you?" "No." Jian Wushuang shook his head slightly. "Our tribes will collectively perform a demon god baptism every once in a while. At that time, the clansmen of our tribes who have reached the baptism requirements will have their ancient god bloodline awakened through the baptism. If you're strong enough, you can come with us. After all, only when you awaken the ancient god bloodline can you truly be counted as the offspring of the ancient god," said Elder Ying. What are the requirements for baptism? Jian Wushuang couldn't help asking. Under normal circumstances, you only need to be an adult. Of course, those clansmen who have an extremely pure soul aura and lineage can awaken their bloodline in advance. And, your lineage definitely meets the requirements, said Elder Ying. Oh. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and asked, how long will it be before the next baptism? There's an adult baptism every year, so the next baptism will be very soon, Elder Ying said and smiled. Jian Wushuang nodded. After that, he asked some more questions which were simple common sense to the clansmen who had lived in the tribes. Elder Ying answered his questions patiently. Jian Wushuang had also asked Jiyu Qiong some questions before, so he already had some knowledge of the ancient god clan that was living here. At the same time, he also gained a new understanding of the Eternal Zone. It wasn't just the ancient god clan, wild beasts also lived in the Eternal Zone. Those wild beasts lived in the boundless wasteland at the other end of the world, occupying half of the territory while the ancient god clan occupied the other half. The holy place of the ancient god clan covered a vast territory in the very center of the Eternal Zone. However, ever since their ancestor, the ancient god, disappeared, the holy place had been completely sealed and no one had been able to even set foot in it. The ancient god clan had never left the Eternal Zone, even after so many years. Because of the ancient god bloodline, the ancient god clansmen became ancient gods through baptism after they became adults, but a small portion of them had a very thin bloodline, so they couldn't awaken their own bloodline no matter how hard they tried. Only when their bloodline was really awakened could they be considered as ancient gods. Even so, there were strong and weak ancient gods. Unlike the human experts in the eternal world, the ancient gods were not divided into the skyscraping realm, divine realm, eternal realm, and so on. Their realm was determined by the number of quadrangular stars on their chest. The moment their bloodline was awakened, quadrangular stars would naturally condense on their chests. If there was one star, they would be a one-star ancient god. A one-star ancient god was equal to a human who was in the divine realm. If they condensed 2 stars, they would be a 2-star ancient god, which was equal to the eternal realm for human beings. If they condensed 3 stars, they would be the same as a supreme Tao master among the humans. There were 10 tribes and millions of people in the ancient god clan. Up till now, 1-star ancient gods at least occupied more than 90 of the population, and there were also quite a few 2-star ancient gods. Generally, the number of 2-star ancient gods in each tribe exceeded 3 figures. In other words, there were at least 100 2-star ancient gods that were comparable to the eternal realm for human beings. As for 3-star ancient gods, Elder Ying did not say much about them, but Jian Wushuang could roughly guess that there was more than 1 3-star ancient god in the ancient god clan. After knowing this, even Jian Wushuang couldn't help being shocked by the awesomeness of the ancient god clan. 99 of the 10,000 clansmen already had their bloodline awakened. Once their bloodline was awakened, even the weakest clansman was a 1-star copper-armored ancient god who could compete with an advanced divine realm expert. There were more than 100 2-star ancient gods in each tribe. 10 tribes added up to over 1,000 2-star ancient gods which could compete with eternal realm experts. Could all the eternal realm experts of all sects in the whole firmament territory even be able to reach half of this number?